Okay, so this is the final project we want to do. It's an ASP-MVC based on Contoso University. And I've clicked on that link to get me to the Microsoft tutorial. I'm in ASP.NET Core version 5, and you can see the tutorial looks much the same. We're doing Contoso University. We're expecting to be able to add and edit students, and we're going to create a new MVC core application. And we're going to do the same kind of editing we did with the index page. Okay, so create new project. So it's this one here, ASP Core App Model View Controller. I'm going to call it ASP-MVC. I'm using dashes now, I can't remember whether that works with Microsoft. MVC Contoso. And I've got a folder for it on drive D. I have 550 projects. Okay, so I'm going to try that. Don't want them in the same directory, but that's not important. What is important is we are going to have individual accounts again. I'm going to configure for HTTPS, so that didn't seem to make much difference. And there we go. So I'll wait for the dependencies to kick in. You notice down here there things are happening. Yep, dependencies have kicked in. We should now be able to run it. I'll use Kestrel again. Ah, notice what's happened, look. In that drop-down list, Microsoft have used underbars instead of dashes. But over here we've got our dashes. Not sure about this. Right, let's see, make sure it runs. My golden rule is not to use symbols in file names and folder names because some languages can't handle them. Oh, here we go again. And we're up and running with our welcome screen. Okay, so again we've got underbars there, look, instead of dashes. No, mine's not important. It is work up and running. So this is the shared layout page. We're going to change the title. We're going to add index. We're going to add items to the main menu. And we're going to change the footer. You've done that before, so I'll just skip over that. So here is the end result. I've got my title here, which is changed. I've got my menus, which are changed. I've got my name in the footer. And we've altered the shared layout view, whereas in Razor Pages it was a shared layout page. But they do this, they have the same purpose. And the next page isn't that important, they've just changed the index page here. We can copy and paste that and change the title. So I've copied the index page here. Okay, it's not important, we don't really need it. There it is. Moving on, they're asking us to install these packages, but I've never had to do that. I'm sure those packages are there. And then we're moving on to the data model, which we've already got from the previous version. So I'm just going to import them. So unlike Razor Pages, there is already a models folder. We're going to right click, add existing item. I'm going to go and find it in my Razor Pages Contoso. Models, course, enrollments and students. We'll need to change the just check what the namespace should be. So you see, as far as projects are concerned, we can't use dashes in file names. We'll have to use underbars. So it's use underbars. Okay, it's not sure. Oh yeah, it's happy now. We can build it now. Okay, then we're going to do the database context class. So we can copy those 3 lines of code there. And if it needs to have a using, and okay, that's there. Build that. Here's what to do if you want your tables, your SQL Server tables, to be singular, which I don't. Okay, then we're going to check that we've got an add DB context in our configure services in our startup, which should be there. So let's look at startup. And there it is. Again, same name. It's called default connection. So that's already there. We can alter the app settings JSON. And I'm going to call the database ASP-MVC-Contoso 21. And save that. Okay, let's try the we have the add database developer page exception filter. Yes, there it is in startup. Services add database developer page exception filter. As before, it's already there. Okay, then finally we want to do this initialization. But again, you've already got the file, the DB initializer, so let's just add it. So in the data folder, we're going to add existing item. Go back to the Razor Contoso, data, DB initializer, and add. We'll need to change the namespace again. And need to change this using, and the rest should be okay. Let's just build that. Okay, now we've got changes to the program.cs, which is these few lines here in place of that line. Then we need a create DB if it doesn't exist, which is all this method here. Okay, and then we finally need a dependency injection extension, I think. Let's just check I'm right on that. Seems happy enough. Yes, the Microsoft extensions dependency injection, and should use the data, have a using to the data. It hasn't got, forgotten. The context needs changing. Application DB context. Right, hasn't found the data, has it? So we need a using. I think we can get rid of these for the moment. and we changed this to an S, didn't we? Yep, we did. Okay, that seems to build. Okay, so we are now ready to move on to the scaffolding. We've set it up so that it will, if whenever the data model is changed, we have to delete the database and update the seed method and start afresh with a new database. Therefore, we're not using the migrations yet, but that will come in later, like we used the migrations with the movies example. Data migrations will come in, but at the moment we have got this method which will create a new database if it doesn't already exist. Okay, so I think we're ready for scaffolding. This time we're going to add an MVC controller with the views using the entity framework. So I'm going to right click on my controllers folder, add a new controller, an MVC controller with the views using the entity framework. Going to base that on the student class and using the application DV context. The rest doesn't need changing. You will get a layout page by default, and it's going to be called students controller. Okay, so I'm going to run it now. Here's the student controller. Essentially it's got the same methods as the Razor pages have behind the scenes. So instead of having a Razor details page with a Razor CS file which has a details method in it, on get details method and on post details method, the methods are all in the controller. So we have the details method, the index method, the create method. There's two creates, that's the get create and that's the post create, and two edits, a delete, two deletes, and a confirm delete, and so on. So it's all in one controller as opposed to being in several different Razor pages. Okay, so let's go. So we'll go to students. Ah, that's different. Okay, right. It hasn't done what the other one did. Oh dear. It's asking me to apply migrations now and update the database. No, so we have to do this add migration. Must have done something wrong somewhere. So I'm going to go and put the migrations on. Go to the package manager, console, it should be down here anyway. Add a migration called initial create. Okay, which is going to create the tables and update the database. Okay, I've now got data migrations on, which is what I wanted anyway, but I think I've done something wrong somewhere. Let's try again. Yep, there we go. Okay. Obviously we could do exactly the same thing with courses. You notice there isn't an enrollments here, but that's for future. I'll stop there. That's all we need to do for the logbook 2. We'll move on from this in logbook 3. So I haven't saved these to Git yet, so I'm going to create a Git repository now. save the code. It's going to be in BNU 550, except, sorry, it's an existing remote. I've already created an empty repository for this. Okay, so I found my BNU 550 ASP-MVC-Contoso empty repository. I'm going to copy the URL there, back here, paste it in, and create and push the repository. Let's refresh this page. Yep, there we go. There's ASP-MVC-Contoso, which you can look at the code. I think I found where I went wrong. If we look at the initialize method, the first line is ensure database is created. If I look at what I've got in here, that line is missing. There's no ensuring the database is created in the initialize method. Whereas if we look at the program is supposed to create the database. If it doesn't exist, there's a whole method for it. But it seems to have not done that. Anyway, I'm not fussed. I've got data migrations enabled on this MVC-Contoso, and I'd need that anyway. And the other way of doing it by creating a new database every time you make a change is just not a way worth following, I don't think.